Working on the turbo exhaust outlet flange for the downpipe, and I got a pattern here that I made out of a piece of cardboard before I bolted the turbo up. Got a chunk of steel here, I think is a 1/4 inch thick. So I just used my engraver to trace the pattern onto the steel here. And then I didn't have a center punch, or actually a transfer punch, and so took an old punch that I had that was already short, and I ground a point into it and heated it red hot with my MAP gas torch, and then quenched it in oil. So that hardened it enough to be harder than this plate that I'm working with, so that easily made my center punch holes to get the drill bit started so it doesn't walk. Well, I just finished cutting the holes out with the drill, and so next will be using the carbide burrs to finish opening up that hole there. Drilling actually went pretty easy. It wasn't that bad. I've got a drill doctor, and I just keep my bits sharp, and I go slow and try to keep the bit cool, and it cuts right through it. When you're getting shavings like that, then things are going all right. It doesn't take too terribly long to get through it. So I'm just going to use these burrs, and they'll cut through the rest of that metal pretty quick. Well, I just finished making the flange, the downpipe flange, and it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it, and it fits the turbo perfectly. And it wasn't all that difficult to make. I thought it would take longer than it did. It wasn't terrible. Sure would have been easier if my plasma cutter was working, but it worked out. Luckily, I don't have to make very many of these. So now it's time to start fitting the downpipe. So the downpipe is finished, and I've just got a coat of header paint on it to hopefully keep it from rusting. I also have quite a bit of header wrap left over from several years ago when I was messing around with the twin turbo 351 Mustang, and so I'm just going to reuse that and wrap this whole pipe. Hopefully it'll keep some heat out of the engine bay and keep it from getting too much heat in the components that are near this pipe. Just finished wrapping the downpipe with the header wrap. I forgot what a nasty job that is. This about like playing with house insulation. Start breathing all that mess, and I'm all scratchy and itchy now. But anyway, at least it's done. Downpipe is installed. I don't have a gasket on right here yet, but that'll be easy. So this is in place, and now I'm going to start working on the rest of the exhaust here real soon. So the downpipe just comes on down through here and down the bottom here right beside the transmission crossmember. There really was an easy way to get it out that looked nice, so I'm not real crazy about this, but it's about the best I can do to get a big pipe out through a small area. But it isn't any lower than the transmission crossmember, and it's not any lower than the fuel pump or fuel tank, so you know, I guess it really doesn't matter. I may change it later, but I'm just going to leave it like it is for now and see how it works. So the way I build my exhaust systems is with mandrel bends from Summit. I don't like crush bent pipes because that jacks up the airflow, so I always do it with mandrel bend, pre-bent mandrels. Definitely adds a little bit to the cost. Not all that much though, it's not real bad, but it just makes a much better exhaust system. And I usually just take a Sawzall and chop out sections of the bend to make whatever angles I need. Here's some scrap pieces of pipe left over from the Mustang exhaust, but as you can see with this old downpipe, I was able to get some fairly complex bends and curves in this just by cutting out sections of pipe. This was a pain to make, but do it once and then you're done. So I always try to save all the scraps of bends that I can, because I'll reuse them at some point. So far on the exhaust that I've got now in the Toyota, the only things I've had to buy were a couple hangers and then this one bend right here, this 3-inch bend. I had everything else here on hand left over from other projects. So when I've got room to store stuff, I like to keep things around. It saves money later when you're making things. These are the band clamps that I'm using, just 3-inch stainless steel bands with the buckle or bolt system here on the end, and you just tighten them down really tight. I think it's something like 40 or 60 foot-pounds, and it conforms to the pipe and seals it. This makes it really easy to change the pipes out later, and it's not like the traditional clamps. They're kind of like U-bolts that crush the pipe. This one you can actually get it apart and put it back together and reuse it several times. And they're not very expensive. I think they're around $10 or $11. So that just works a lot better for me. So I'm probably about 2/3 of the way done building the tailpipe that goes over the axle. Just thought I'd show you kind of how we are so far. So I just cut out pieces that have the right bends that I need, and I just tack them together. Once it's all in place, then I'll pull the whole pipe out and weld everything solid. Alright, I meant to show you before I put the pipe back in all the welds and that it was finished, but I forgot. I just got busy doing it. But anyway, finished welding all the joints. That actually took a while. There's a lot of them to seal up. They don't look so good, but it'll work. They won't come apart, and I know they're sealed. Been doing most of this project with the TIG welder, so I'm kind of rusty at the MIG welder. I used to be alright at MIG, but not so much anymore. I just hadn't used the MIG very much recently. So now I'm working on the hangers. I'm using the factory rubber hangers. There's one of them. And I'm just making steel rods and bending them to fit, and then I'm just going to weld it in there and should be ready to go. So there's the hangers that I made. Just heated the ends with the MAP gas torch, bent them around, and we're all done. Just cut them to length. And I believe it's 3/8 rod, something like that. Just some cheap bar stock from Lowe's. It'll do the job. Alright, here's a quick overview of the exhaust. Getting ready to put this thing down on the ground, and the exhaust is finished. Just thought I'd show you the whole system. Added a hanger here near the front. It's off the transmission mount. We got a flex pipe. And it's another stainless band clamp. Got 2 hangers here in the factory Toyota location. There's the Moroso spiral flow muffler. Another band clamp. And then we got the tailpipe going out.